Aita for lashing out at my ex, and planning to return everything from our relationship. I am a 23-year-old female and I had a boyfriend who is 23 years old for several months, but we broke up late last year. I have known this guy since high school, which means around 10 years at the time of writing this, and we were quite close during our freshman year. However, we began to hang out with different groups of friends, and as a result, we naturally drifted apart. We remained friends, but we maintained a low-maintenance friendship, where communicating frequently was not necessary. We could easily pick up where we left off as if no time had passed. After we graduated high school, we both attended the same university. Over the years, we seldom spoke, but one day he expressed his interest in me and courted me for a while. We finally became a couple only last year, but we broke up in the same year. From the very beginning, our relationship was built on a shaky foundation. I will not go into detail, but during the time he was trying to win me over, there seemed to be some overlap or issues with his ex, and he lied to me, which led to trust issues on my part. The warning signs were evident, but my favorite color is red, so I took him back, started talking again, and we officially became a couple. During our relationship, we were relatively happy. There were a few misunderstandings here and there, but they were nothing we could not overcome. Initially, he was a really great guy and partner, thoughtful, caring, affectionate, and he put in a lot of effort. We shared the same principles and values, which was a significant advantage since we started as friends. I felt like I had found not only a lover, but also a best friend in him. Perhaps knowing him for almost a decade contributed to that feeling, or so I thought. I genuinely believed that 10 years was sufficient time to know someone. I was deeply mistaken. As our relationship progressed, he began to engage in behaviors that hurt me. Initially, it was something minor, like a screenshot on his phone of some girl with large breasts and her cleavage exposed. When I confronted him about it, he insisted it meant nothing, claiming he didn't even know her, just some girl from the internet with no emotional attachment. He also disrespected my boundaries. I had told him early on that I was not ready for anything physical, not even a kiss. Do you know what he did? He kissed me anyway, even after we had talked about it. When he noticed that I was uncomfortable, he became very sad and sullen, so I ended up comforting him. Later, when we began to get more intimate as our relationship progressed, he would not accept no for an answer, constantly asking me why, as if my refusal was not valid. Additionally, he did a favor for his ex even though he knew I was uncomfortable with their interaction. While I understand that nothing happened between them and there was no malicious intent, couldn't he have just declined for my sake and peace of mind? This behavior revealed to me how inconsiderate he truly was regarding my feelings. The last straw was discovering that he had met his ex-friend with benefits while we were not in contact, similar to Ross and Rachel's. We were on a break scenario. During that time, we were not officially together, but we had already discussed making it work. We had a misunderstanding, and I stopped communicating with him for a few days, just a few days. He assumed it was all over between us and cuddled with her. He claimed it was solely cuddling because he was feeling sad and using it as an escape from our situation. But once again, it meant nothing. At that point, I realized he was not trustworthy and a liar, so I confronted both him and the girl separately. I knew he would never be honest with me, yet I still wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. However, their accounts did not align. In his version, he left out many details and shifted some of the blame onto the girl, even though she claimed that he did not inform her he was already talking to someone. He also reached out to her, attempting to ask her to cover for him. Fortunately, she was honest with me and informed me about it. I broke up with him last year after learning about these events, and since then, I have blocked him on everything. I have also deleted all of our photos together from my phone. It has been incredibly difficult to maintain no contact because I still love him, though I am unsure which unresolved part of me that reflects, but at the same time, I detest him with every fiber of my being. Occasionally, I unblock him to reach out. Recently, I lashed out at him, conveying everything I ever wanted him to know about how he made me feel. Each message was filled with anger, but beneath all that emotion, I simply wanted him to understand how much he hurt me. He left my messages undelivered, which felt like a devastating blow. I poured my heart out, and he didn't even respond. There was no apology, no explanation, no acknowledgement of the truth. In that moment, I understood where I stood in his life. Mutual friends have informed me that he is still upset about our situation, so I wonder if he loved me or cared for me in some way. Nevertheless, he refused to acknowledge his wrongdoings or take any accountability. He ignored my messages instead of addressing the issue. However, I cannot help but wonder if I may have gone too far. I said some pretty hurtful things. I did not insult him or call him names, but I did express my pain by asking how he could do this to me and claiming that he was just trying to save face. I even questioned whether he loved me or merely enjoyed being intimate with me. Yes, I was going through a tough time. It does not help that I keep everything from our relationship, our photos, the letters he wrote to me, the sticky notes he left on food he gave me for upcoming exams, the plush toy of my favorite character that he gifted me on my birthday, and our couple bracelet. I just cannot seem to let go of these items. I also do not want to give them away. I think part of me struggles to reconcile the sweet and thoughtful version of him that I fell in love with the version that has hurt me deeply. I am unable to comprehend how both sides can coexist within the same person, leaving me uncertain about how to feel about him. I know keeping these items will only make me sad, so I have considered mailing them back to him, hoping that one day he will open the door to find a box full of the things he took for granted. It would be my final message to him. Am I in the wrong for sending him hurtful messages and mailing back our belongings in hopes of making him miserable? Should I even do it? I mean, I will be responsible for the shipping costs, which seems unnecessary, and my friends oppose the idea, arguing that it is pointless. Nevertheless, I do not want to hold onto this box of bittersweet memories. Story 2. Outgrowing a best friend. I used to be Jane's go-to, but now Aita became an afterthought. As she bonds with her new boyfriend and reconnects with an old friend, I feel left behind and neglected. How do you handle the pain of drifting apart from someone you once cherished? Hello, everybody. I do not really know how to begin this because the person I would normally confide in about my problems is now the source of my problems. I am a 22-year-old female and I have a best friend who is also 22. Let us call her Jane. Jane and I have always been inseparable, so to speak. However, that has changed. I do not know how or why, but it did. I am no longer the first person she approaches when she has issues. I feel like an afterthought. To be quite frank, that hurts immensely. Recently, she started dating a new boyfriend, and I am genuinely happy for her. She truly deserves all the happiness in the world. Yet, because I voiced some concerns about her boyfriend, she distanced herself from me even more. The behavior in question is as follows. We both attended school with him. During high school, he would frequently flirt with her even though he had a long-term girlfriend, which I disliked even back then, but I thought maybe he was just a clueless teenager. Well, they reconnected in April 2024, and he was still in a relationship. He flirted with Jane yet again, broke up with his girlfriend, and started dating Jane. He explained his actions to Jane by saying, he realized that Jane was interested in him, which prompted him to break up with his girlfriend. However, he felt that his ex-girlfriend was not truly his girlfriend, as they were only hooking up, and he only agreed to be her boyfriend out of pity because her father is disabled. To him, that does not count as a relationship. Now, his ex-girlfriend is claiming that he was only using her for casual encounters. I told Jane that what he said is appalling. She somehow interpreted his actions as a romantic gesture. I do not know. Anyway, I told her that if she is content with that explanation, then that is all that matters. Jane also has another friend from high school. Let us call her Bella. Bella and I used to be friends, but I ended that when she bullied a girl right before our high school graduation. She targeted her for being weird, and I refused to associate with people like that. Now, Jane has frequent sleepovers with Bella. They study together for their exams, and Jane often spends time with her. She does not invite me to hang out anymore. I thought maybe I need to initiate our hangouts more often. I mean, you cannot complain that nobody wants to do anything with you if you never ask, can you? So I did just that. She agreed, and we planned to go out for lunch on a Friday. By Thursday, she was expressing her excitement about going out with her boyfriend that same day and spending the entire day with him. That felt like a punch to the gut. She could go out with Bella almost every day, but not with me. I pretended I had also forgotten about our plans because I was so humiliated. She realized what she had done and apologized. To make amends, we agreed to reschedule for a week later. I was thrilled. We would go to our favorite Chinese restaurant and then spend too much money on new books. I did not eat anything to save my appetite for our lunch at noon, the time we were supposed to meet. I like to do this so I can finish the enormous portions at the restaurant, not the safest approach to calories. She did not text me until 10 a.m. that day, so I asked where we would meet. Based on her vague message, I could tell she had hoped I would forget. She informed me that we first had to walk her dog. I was fine with that because I love dogs. However, after the walk, we did not go to the restaurant. Instead, we sat in her living room, and she placed a tiny plate of cookies in front of me that she had baked with Bella. She said they turned out really awful. The thing about being in her house is that I feel incredibly uncomfortable there. Her mother does not want guests over, and the house has that everything looks brand new, please do not touch anything vibe. Her parents were home, and I could see from their expressions that they did not want me there but were too polite to say so. I felt very uncomfortable. She then began to talk to me all about her boyfriend, and I was doing my best not to feel angry about the sudden change of plans that she had not informed me about beforehand. I was starving. She started to take calls from Bella, with whom she was planning a trip to London the following week while I sat awkwardly at her dining table, nibbling on a cookie. She texted Bella throughout our entire hangout. She complained about why I could not fly with them to London. First of all, I do not have that kind of money, and I also have responsibilities at home that I cannot abandon. After an hour of whatever that was, she told me she had to go to Bella's place to discuss their London trip. So we walked to Bella's house while she was on her phone. After that, I went home and made myself instant ramen. To be completely honest, I have not felt this hurt in quite some time. I felt like the bullied 13-year-old with no friends again, and that was really painful. I did not talk to Jane for a week after that. I do not know how, but I eventually caved. I thought maybe I overreacted, and perhaps I did. I do not know at this point. Well, we hung out again this week after a while. Her mother picked me up and drove us to the mall. I did not want her to pick me up because I could tell she was annoyed about having to do so but was too polite to say anything. The tension in the car is always palpable, and I would rather walk. But unfortunately, Jane ignored my protests. We went to our restaurant, and everything seemed fine, almost normal again. Then her mother called to ask how long we would take to return home. After that, we rushed through every stop that Jane wanted to make, with her mom calling almost every 15 minutes because she was annoyed about having to drive us back. Again, we could have walked just fine. In the store, we did not browse products together like we used to. Instead, it felt like she was shopping alone while I was the annoying little sister her mother told her to take with her. It was humiliating once again. I understand that it is her mother who is pressuring her, but still, we have not seen each other in months. I realize that she has a lot going on in her life, and it is an exciting time to be in love. I somewhat understand why she is so close to Bella, who can hang out almost every day, whereas I cannot. Jane can sleep over at Bella's house, but she cannot do that at mine. But I mean, she could also talk to me on the phone like she does with Bella, and could at least pretend she is enjoying our time together. She could take a little interest in my life. How did you navigate outgrowing your best friend? Any advice? Story 3. My partner, 27M, thinks his brother, 32M, is more important than me, 23F, and it's ruining his life. How can I get him to stop putting his brother above me and regain control of his life? Trigger warning. Sad ideation, urgent help is needed. My partner has always looked up to his older brother. However, for the past 5 years, their codependent relationship has significantly hindered his personal growth and placed stress on our relationship. Both of them were stuck in unfulfilling jobs. My partner, who had previously worked in a research facility and witnessed firsthand what academic success can resemble, persuaded his older brother to obtain their A-levels and subsequently attend college. His lifelong aspiration was to create a wonderful life for his family. Thus, they both left their jobs and enrolled in a new school. The problem arose when his brother dropped out almost immediately for no clear reason other than his frustration with his grades. My partner, unwilling to continue without him, also left school. He will likely regret that decision in the future. Since then, they have been paying for an online school, yet nothing has occurred in the last 3 years. They did not even manage to start. My partner believed that studying at their own pace, free from discouraging teachers, might be a better option for his irritable brother, so they both agreed to this arrangement. Unfortunately, the brother constantly found excuses to avoid studying altogether. It is important to note that this brother exhibits severe paranoid and schizotypal tendencies. He refuses to use phones because he believes they track his location and eavesdrop on him, which greatly disturbs him. Consequently, no one is able to reach him this way. He shuns family gatherings. When he does reach out, he only requests favors, such as asking others to pay his share of the rent or purchase groceries for him. He rarely leaves the apartment. He prefers solitude and lacks friends. He confines himself to his room, spending all day on his computer. Even his girlfriend barely saw him, leading her to experience a mental breakdown and end their relationship. The most troubling issue is that he believes he is under government surveillance for illegally downloading video games. Supposedly, after being kicked out and having to return to our apartment, one might think this should have been the perfect opportunity for the brothers to start studying together. But no. Our neighbor, who is believed to be a police informant, allegedly hacked into our devices to monitor our every move. His aim was to get this brother arrested and imprisoned for many years, supposedly. The brother was on the verge of snapping and harming our neighbor as a result. Though he never had any concrete evidence to support his suspicions, this notion justified his inability to study for college. My partner thought that relocating to a new apartment in a small farm village away from the city would help, but his brother merely identified a new perceived threat: our elderly landlord and downstairs neighbor. My partner became so absorbed in his brother's beliefs that he almost did not see the reality. He was so influenced by the notion that his brother was a technical genius who needed protection from elderly hackers and police informants that he even neglected his own friends. I had to continually remind him to respond to texts and not to cancel our monthly meetups. I invest emotionally and financially in my partner because he is intelligent, considerate of those around him, and very kind-hearted, yet he is infatuated with his older brother. He genuinely thought he was nowhere near as intelligent or admirable as his brother. He failed to recognize that his sibling was no longer the athletic, successful honor student he once was. He became a not in education, employment, or training individual, a gifted child who burned out after a prolonged period of drug use and showed complete indifference toward his younger brother's admiration. After years of social, emotional, and financial strain, my partner finally confronted him. How much longer was he expected to wait? They had begun this journey 5 years ago, yet nothing had come of it. Ultimately, his brother admitted that he never truly wanted to study and accused my partner of heavily pressuring him into this situation. He claimed that because my partner had originally proposed the idea, he was also responsible for the current circumstances and for being kicked out by his girlfriend. He accepted no responsibility for any negative outcomes in his life. After we vacated the apartment, he even sent us an email in which he shared a Jordan Peterson video about narcissism and suggested that my partner should seek therapy. My partner's heart was completely shattered. He had never stopped defending his older brother before. He did not expect any words of gratitude or love from him. Yes, he did not even react when his brother threatened to punch him over minor misunderstandings in the past. But now, he is devastated, lost, and spiraling into suicidal thoughts. After this final insult, I lost my patience and called his brother delusional. Nothing more, nothing less, just outright delusional. I typically do not insult people in that manner, but I was at such a loss for words that I could no longer contain myself. Rather than support me, my partner became upset and accused me of attempting to isolate him from his brother. He acknowledged my financial and emotional support, but insisted that I could never truly be part of the family unless I accepted them as they are. He does not seem to understand that I have tried to prevent this catastrophic, albeit highly predictable, ending, much like everyone else around him. Perhaps I do not fully grasp familial love, but I want him to stop sacrificing his future for his ungrateful brother. Sadly, he refuses to seek therapy because he wants to acquire work insurance first. However, that will require an entire year of waiting due to his previous therapy sessions. He is so heartbroken and lost that he feels incapable of doing anything anymore. He genuinely believes he is not good enough for school, which everyone knows is not true. I try to remind him that if I was able to achieve it, so can he. I even offered to act as his study partner, but I fear it would not be effective. How can I help him realize he is being unreasonable before it is too late? Is my relationship perhaps doomed? What can I say to him? Please help. Story 4. My boyfriend, 26M, tells me 26F that I am not his super skinny ideal, even though I have a BMI of 18.3. This has made me very insecure, and I often ask him for reassurance. I believe I have a very unhealthy attachment to my body image. Am I the asshole? I, a 26-year-old female, and my boyfriend, a 26-year-old male, have been together for 5 years now. I weigh 48.3 kilograms, 106 pounds, and I am 5 feet 4.5 inches, or 163.5 centimeters tall. My waist measures 24.5 inches, my hips measure 36.5 inches, and my bust size is 32C. 4 years ago, when I had the same body proportions, with just a 0.5-inch variation in my hips and waist, and maybe weighing 2 kilograms more, the topic of body types came up in conversation. When I inquired about his preferences, he replied in a presumptuous manner. I like skinny girls, not supermodel thin, but skinny and small-chested, long-haired, not short. I am not as fond of curves. I prefer athletic or rectangular body shapes, when asked if he preferred hourglass figures. He also stated that skinny girls are typically more feminine and that most men prefer smaller-chested women and skinny women. It was clear that he did not perceive me as skinny. He continued by mentioning that my chest size was large, which it was not. I have always been a 32C, which is quite average, and that pornography does not typically feature women with larger chests. To be fair, he had been viewing a very specific type of pornography for 7 years, focusing on only a few women based not on body type, but on their clothing or actions, but he stopped watching all pornography after. We began dating. He even posted a question on Reddit 4 years ago, wondering whether he would ever fully be attracted to me, fearing he would lose attraction since I did not fit his ideal body type based on the media he consumed. All of this really hurt my feelings deeply back then, and I felt devastated, yet I remained with him because I loved his heart and kindness in other respects. Since then, he has frequently reassured me of his attraction to me, expressing his appreciation for my body and apologizing numerous times for his comments. However, I cannot help but feel skeptical about his reassurances, no matter how many times he asserts that he finds me attractive now. It has been 4 years, and the sting is still present, albeit not as intensely as when I first learned of his preferences. I believed for years that he only watched very slender, small-chested women in pornography. Recently, I asked him about the type of women he had viewed, and if he would feel comfortable sharing their names with me. He mentioned women such as Euphrat, Melna Morgan, L. Alexandra, and Crystal. I do not watch pornography, but he said he used to fantasize about these 4 women in his daydreams every couple of days until last year, when I caught him searching dubious content. However, upon Googling these women, I found that the first 2 have similar proportions to me and are also C-cups. They are taller than me, but most of them share similar waist and hip measurements. I realized that I had spent years feeling inadequate because I did not look like the women that aligned with his body type ideals, but I discovered last week that I somewhat match their proportions. Over the past 4 years, I have worried almost daily about my weight and chest size. I wore constrictive bras to reduce my size from a C to a B cup. I have also lowered my weight from 50 kilograms to 48 kilograms, and even recently it indicated I was 47 kilograms. I monitor my weight meticulously and am vigilant about my diet. Honestly, as embarrassing as it may sound, I also often felt inadequate or believed I was not skinny enough, but I think many women might share similar feelings. After researching these specific women he fantasized about this week, I finally felt some of the pain lessen when I saw they had similar body proportions, although they are certainly taller than I am at 5 feet 7 or 5 feet 8 inches. They have C cups, and I felt deceived when he claimed mine was too large because, in reality, he idolized these women for that feature. However, he won't admit that directly and insists he simply forgot what they all looked like, assuming they were smaller than me. When I discussed this with him, He recently pointed out a few new insecurities I've added to my list. He said he preferred their long torsos, which is why he assumed they were leaner, and even added that he liked their smaller backsides, explaining perhaps why he claimed to like skinnier women. I don't know how to respond to all this, as it now feels like I have another point of insecurity regarding my hip size being much broader than my waist. I have a waist-to-hip ratio of 0.68, since my measurements are 24.536.5. He claims he likes larger backsides as well, but suggested that he preferred skinnier women because those particular women had smaller backsides. He had never mentioned this in all 4 years we have been together. I am uncertain why he would bring this up now. I feel so fatigued from this back and forth, and from feeling inadequate. I wish I knew how to proceed. Please advise on how I might feel better and navigate this with him. How can I know what he truly thinks of me, despite his claims of being very attracted to me? He insists that he loves only me and finds me very attractive as I am. Despite this situation sounding bleak, he is genuinely a kind and gentle person with a loving heart. I just don't know how to move forward in this regard. I believe he agrees that I am skinny too. Side question. He claims to find our friends and his female acquaintances attractive as well. Is it common for men to find friends attractive? I am the only one he feels aroused by, and he maintains that he only likes me in that way. Is it usual for most men to find their acquaintances beautiful and appealing? Additionally, I'm not sure if this helps, but here is a description of him. My boyfriend and I are both Asian, and he stands at 5 feet 8.5 inches tall. We are each other's first partners in every sense of the term, and having been together for so long, it is challenging to envision breaking up over this matter. Am I the antagonist for my unhealthy feelings of insecurity and for obsessing over my weight so much? Story 5. Aita came in love with my best friend, and we're going to complete high school in a month. So there is this girl I truly admire. Like is not the correct word, I am in love with her. We have been friends for 4 years now. When we were in the 9th grade, our class teacher asked me to create a seating arrangement for the entire class, as I was one of the top students in my class. I already had a crush on her, so I chose to have her sit next to me. I ensured that she had some of her friends nearby, as we both shared mutual friends but were not friends at that time. Eventually, we both opened up to each other. We are both introverts. We began discussing our interests and we became friends. In the 10th grade, we became best friends. We would sit next to each other voluntarily. There was no seating arrangement this time. We genuinely enjoyed each other's company. Then, in the 11th grade, we were in different sections. I was in the science section while she was in the humanities section. We could only meet during the computer science period or at break, and sometimes at other times too. We remained very close. At the end of the 11th grade, I was speaking without thinking and said, I have some secrets that nobody knows. Now, being my best friend, she was determined to uncover that secret. She accurately guessed that the secret was that I had a crush on someone. She pursued me relentlessly. Now, please try to understand my perspective. There she was, all beautiful and vibrant, despite being an introvert. She was even the leader of the student council. Then there was me, a forgettable person. I simply did not have the courage to confess my feelings to her. Eventually, she asked me to write the name of my crush on the last page of her notebook. I wrote, "You." We did not discuss it for a month. Finally, I inquired about her feelings regarding that revelation. She had not anticipated that she would be the subject of my crush. She responded, "I am not ready to date anyone yet. We are still friends, right?" I then rambled on about how we should work on improving ourselves as individuals and in our friendship, and that I would remain loyal to her. She mentioned that she might consider dating me later in life, but not at that moment. I was fine with her decision. I respect her choice and do not want to make her uncomfortable. In the 12th grade, she was once again chosen as the leader of the student council. Throughout the whole 11th grade, I could not meet her as often as I would have liked because she was always busy with various duties. She also became quite popular and made new friends. To put this into perspective, in the 10th grade, we would spend 4 to 5 hours together. In the 11th grade, our time together was reduced to anywhere from 2 hours to as little as 20 minutes, and that was with other friends rather than one-on-one time. Consequently, I was extremely frustrated with myself. I tend to hurt others when I am angry. Just my words, or the lack of them, suffice. So I refrained from speaking to her for a week after she became the student council leader. I did not completely ignore her. I simply started spending time with other friends. She attempted to reach out to me and asked if everything was all right. I just replied that I was fine, devoid of any emotion. Naturally, like any other person, she felt hurt as she had done nothing wrong. Eventually, I recognized my mistake. Rather than admitting the truth to her, I fabricated a story about a girl who had a crush on me and manipulated me against her, claiming that she was using me. After hearing my story, she understandably believed it and stated that she was disappointed in me. Those words still sting to this day. In fact, I am holding back tears while typing this. I reached out to her and acknowledged my mistake. She responded that she would not be chasing after me. Ultimately, we managed to resolve our issues. However, I still feel that she has not completely forgiven me. She ceased spending time with me and began to dedicate more time to her female friends. She started to distance herself from me. We are still close, but we have experienced closer moments in the past. She still interacts with me, but not as much. Currently, we are preparing for our board exams. I will only see her for one day on our last exam on March 24. I already miss her. I did hurt her, and I am a complete fool. I wish I could stop time or possess a time machine to change my actions. I am secretly embarrassed by myself and more disappointed in myself than she could ever be. I just want everything to return to normal. She has been the only girl I have fallen in love with, and she will be the last girl I will ever love. Other girls may come and go, but I want her to be a permanent part of my life. I owe my life to her. When I was struggling with depression, she listened to me, made me stronger, and supported me. She is a true angel who has tolerated a monster like me.